I've been closer to Jesus before. So can you help me out? Oh, can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? But can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? Or can you help me out? Can you help me out? I've been scared to look in my soul. I've been afraid I would follow the road. Yeah, afraid of the things I've been told.
Hello, everybody, and welcome into Running Point on ysnlive.com. Today is Wednesday, and we are in the month of December. Here we go, Wednesday, December 1st. And we have a jam-packed show for you on a Wednesday. We have a lot to recap from last night. We have Jeff Brink, the Springfield head basketball coach for the boys' side, coming on at 1:40. Before we get to all of that, it's Wrestling Wednesdays with Gary Allsizer. Gary Leininger is one of our wonderful photographers. So, excuse me, but Gary Allsizer coming on for Wrestling Wednesdays. Gary, how are we doing this week?
Oh, I'm good. I'm excited to be back. I had a great time last week talking about local high school wrestling. I talk about that all day anyway, so coming on talking to you guys is just a regular Wednesday for me, so I'm just happy to be back.
And now we're 1 week closer to the start of the season, and I know a lot of teams actually get started tomorrow, and then as the year goes on, more and more teams will fall and get started. As you look at some of these matchups that we'll see and meets that we'll see early in the season, what kind of things pop out to you?
Well, this very first weekend, December 4th, this Saturday, I think the Boardman duels are this weekend. There's the Soul and Comet Classic. There's a holiday tournament every year in Malvern called the Hornet Holiday Tournament. It's a lot of smaller schools are there. So those are the things that come to mind first. But really, next weekend is the big weekend for high school wrestling, not only in Ohio, but really nationwide, because the Walsh Iron Man is next weekend. It is the 10th. So probably be the 9th and the 10th next Friday and Saturday. It is the hardest high school tournament in the country. It is in Cuyahoga Falls, Ohio. It's held at Walsh High School. And literally, if you are a top-tier wrestler in the country, you're most likely going to be at this tournament, and you'll see a ton of future D1 guys wrestling in this tournament, future All-Americans, and even national champs. So really early on in the season, that's where everybody's eyes are as far as high school wrestling in Ohio goes.
Talking about that and going into that tournament, who are some local names that we're going to be watching out for that you think can maybe make an impact going into this?
So to get into the tournament, you have to basically petition to get in. So you have to have a really great resume even to be accepted. So I don't know exactly who's going to be in. I know there'll be a couple local guys for sure. One of the names that sticks out to me is Logan Hours from Beaver Local. Logan, he committed to wrestle at Wyoming University. That's a Division I school, and they're actually a really good wrestling school. I know they're not, they've gotten more popular in football and basketball over the years, but wrestling, really, they pack the gyms out for their wrestling matches. And he's going there next year. So I would be shocked if he's not wrestling in the Ironman. There'll probably be a couple kids from Beaver Local going there, and he has a really good shot to do well there. He was a nationally recognized kid his whole career, and when he was younger, I think there was a time where he was the number one kid in the country. So I'm really looking forward to see what he can do. And then, of course, there'll be kids from other schools in the area. I'm sure Fitch or Boardman will have some kids there. The other Beaver Local kids, I know they got a couple state placers coming back. I'm sure they'll take them with them. And other than that, it'll be exciting to see the names from California to Pennsylvania to Illinois and New York. All these really great wrestling states will all be coming together at this tournament.
I mean, that's got to be so huge for Northeast Ohio to be able to host a tournament like this where everyone gets to come in and they get to kind of see what Northeast Ohio is about. I know it's not necessarily our coverage area yet we're coming for you, Cuyahoga Falls.
Mhm.
But when you kind of get everyone to come into this area, it's got to be good for the wrestling scene in this area for the rest of the year.
Yeah, the tournament's held at Walsh High School, Walsh Jesuit High School,
Right.
and back in the 90s all the way through at least the mid 2000s, they were probably the number 1 or number 2 high school wrestling team in the country, along with St. Ed's, and then a couple of PA schools, Wyoming Seminary, and then some Bergen Catholic in New Jersey. But Walsh was right up there, so they've been on the map for 25 or 30 years. So having it held there, I think that's probably why it started there, because they had such ridiculous teams. They had number 1 ranked kid after number 1 ranked kid in the country on that team, and guys who went on to be All-Americans and national champs. So you're right. It is pretty cool to have that in this area, and it's because of that high school and what they've been able to do through the years with their wrestling program. Them and then St. Ed's are the 2 probably most recognizable names in Ohio high school wrestling, at least throughout the last few decades.
If I'm going to go to any of these local tournaments, you said what I believe this weekend before the next weekend tournament, what are some ones you're pointing me to, and what are some names I'm looking for if I'm going to some of these tournaments?
Well, so of course the Boardman duels, you'll obviously you're going to have Boardman there, and I think Austin Town Fitch is there as well. At this Solon Classic, Garrison Garfield will be there, and that's another Division III team to really watch out for. They've gotten really good the last couple years. They have a kid named Hunter Andel. I think he's ranked 3rd in the state. They have another kid that's ranked in the top 5 in the state. They'll be probably battling South Range for that regional crown to get to the state dual tournament. So that would be the team that I would be looking for. And the Andel kid is one I'm really looking forward to see what he does. He's a junior this year. As a freshman, he wrestled in our district meet and actually beat one of our kids to go to the state tournament. And I thought he had a ton of potential, but unfortunately that state tournament got canceled because of COVID. So I would really like to see where he's excelling at and where he's headed. That team is just one that I definitely would be keeping my eye on. I believe they are in the YSN network.
They sure are. Garrison Garfield is on. They've been on since football season, and when you watch their football team, it's not a surprise to hear that they have a good wrestling program. That football team is known for being extremely physical, and they run the ball about 95% of the time, which means they got to have a good offensive line, and good offensive linemen make good wrestlers. So
that's right.
Gary, when you're looking at this, like the last week before the season starts, or the last couple of days before the season starts, last second tuning, and trying to get as ready as you can for your first meet, what kind of things go into these last couple of days of practice and the last couple of days of getting ready for this long, grueling wrestling season?
Well, the first thing that comes to mind, and every coach will probably say this, is making weight. So the first time you have to make weight, that's always a stressful time for a coach. So the state of Ohio, which I think most states do this now, they force you to do this thing called a hydration test or an alpha test, which the kids have to go to a certified place that will have like RNs or doctors even, who will come in and they will check your body fat. They will make sure you're hydrated so that you're not cutting weight. And then they put it into a formula and it tells you what weight you are allowed, that specific kid is allowed to go throughout the season. So they have every single day mapped out for the year what weight that kid, the lowest weight that kid's allowed to weigh every single day through the year. So the first match of the season, it's probably close to what you weighed at your alpha. But if it's a weight class down and that's where the kid wants to go, I know as a coach, it's one thing that you really just have to monitor day in and day out. And within the last couple of days, at least for me personally, I'm harping on the kids. Hey, eat smart. Stay away from Mountain Dew. Stay away from Monster energy drinks. Drink water. The salad is your friend. A chicken breast is your friend. We don't want you to not eat. We just want you to eat healthy and nothing that sticks to you. So that would be the first thing to get the kids ready. And then the second thing is just mentally. If the kids have wrestled before, then they know what they need to do when they're out there. But the nerves always come, just like in any sport, especially the first match of the season. And when you're going from a team sport like football, which most of the kids on my team are anyway, into an individual sport, it's just a totally different mindset. So trying to get them to be confident and relaxed, and maybe go over just some things maybe we looked rusty on during the week. And if you're a new kid, it's all about just the fundamentals to go out there and have fun and not put too much pressure on themselves. So those are the things that I do anyway.
Gary, you were obviously up close and personal with wrestling last year too, and we talked about how COVID restrictions are lightening up for a lot of sports. Talk to me how it's lightening up for wrestling, and obviously we know wrestling was kind of one of those sports was weird last year because we were doing these COVID placements for the kids, and the kids were wrestling anyways. So, talk to me about how restrictions have lightened up. Have they lightened up at all, and what are we going to be able to see more crowds? Do you think as well?
Well, I think it's going to probably be up to each individual school how that's played out. But I do know one thing last year that really it confused a lot of people was you're allowed to go out there and wrestle. So with wrestling, you shake somebody's hand before the match, and then you shake your hand after match, and then you shake the opposing coach's hand before you walk off the mat. That wasn't allowed last year. A lot of people were confused. Well, how in the world can these kids go out there and wrestle each other, but then not shake each other's hand? So I don't think that rules into effect this year. At least I hope not. That'll be one thing. The having fans in the stands will be another one. Last year it was, I think, 2 guardians or parents per child, and they had to be so many feet apart in the stands if they came. I think those restrictions are off unless a school specifically wants to have that. So it's just going to be more of that family feel that wrestling has. So with wrestling, it's a big community. Yeah, you go and you're competing against other schools and people who aren't on your team, but at the same time, you're friends with most of those people. So it's going to change, hopefully, for the better in that aspect, that we can get back to that family feel, that we'll be out there talking to guys that we see every week or every month, and really get back to that feeling of community that we had. It kind of went away last year with the restrictions.
I find it very intriguing when you're talking about, watching kids' diets and trying to keep them on top of what to eat and how to stay in their weight class and how to keep on their weight. We all know everyone's body's different. Everyone's body has different metabolism and different things that will, increase their weight, decrease their weight. As a coach, how much goes into trying to find out each kid's, what they need to put in their body, what they don't need to put in their body, et cetera, and like a nutrition system for the whole wrestling system.
So for me, I'm the first one in the room, and the first thing the kids do when they come in is they get weighed. So when they weigh in, I have a pretty good feel for what they should be weighing. And if they're up or down, I'll just talk to them. Hey, what did you eat today? What was for lunch at school? A lot of times, what'd you eat? Nothing. Well, you don't gain 6 pounds by eating nothing. You obviously ate something. So I'll talk to the kids to see what they had for lunch. Usually on pizza day is a bad day for us. Chinese food day is a bad day, or we're going into a holiday like Thanksgiving, and the school's feeding them really well. I'll see who's having weight stick to them and who's not, how much they've eaten, and then like you said, some kids, you can eat a bunch of carbs and it doesn't bother you. Other kids, they eat a bunch of carbs and it literally just stick to them. So I'll try to get a feel for the kids, what they're eating and what will make their weight fluctuate, and then try to go give them advice based on that. And as a whole, it's just really harping on mostly about what they drink, because they're going to lose body fat during the season and gain muscle just naturally because that's the way the sport is. But for the day-to-day, it's about the water weight that sticks to you. And most of that can come from really sugary drinks or eating really salty food and then drinking sugary drinks. That's a recipe for really having weight stick to you. And sometimes it can be up to 8-9 pounds that, my heavyweight, he's a big kid. Most heavyweights are big kids. If they have a day or two like that, their weight can change a lot.
A follow-up to that real quick, because I'm also interested. I know every school is different in size and what they can afford to put on their staff, but how many high schools have someone whose really only job it is to focus on a kid's nutrition and try to, almost like a team nutritionist or have you?
So to have just a nutritionist just for you and your high school wrestling team, you're probably going to have to be a private school.
Right.
Those, the top teams in the country are mostly private or Catholic schools. And I know some of them do. They do have nutritionists. They have team doctors. Some of them have team doctors. They have, conditioning, weights guys, conditioning guys. Sometimes some of these schools will have a coach for each weight class. there are 14 weight classes. And they'll have a literal individual coach for each one. So really, it just depends on the resources that you have. So I don't see that. I don't know of any team locally that has one personally, but I know there are schools around the country, and especially the private schools or the really big schools that do.
My question for you, Gary, is talking about when cross-sport athletes, and we talk about a lot of football players that come on too. There's some instances I'm sure where soccer players come on too, and they're probably a little bit lighter. They're more athletic, quicker on their feet. Talking about working out plans, obviously we know soccer workouts are different from football workouts, and you got to get built up for those sports. How is wrestling unique in the way that they work out, and is there really a one size fits all, or are there different workout plans for different athletes because the size varies so much?
No, all the kids, when the conditioning comes, we all do it, together as a team. But there are definitely, things, especially in the weight room, that you would focus on with different kids. The heavier guys, they just have to be strong. They have to be able, the more weight they can lift in the weight room, the better off they're going to be. Because, like you said, you guys both, I think the first day, wanted to talk about the offensive linemen wrestle, and it's good for them. That's true. And those offensive linemen that play football are pounding the weights all season long. So if I got a kid that comes in and he didn't play football, I've got to make sure that his strength is going to be up to be able to contend with these guys. And with the soccer guys, I love, anybody that plays soccer, runs cross country, anything like that. They make good wrestlers just because their gas tanks are so big, because they can just continue to go and go and go. But again, they're not using the same muscles that a football player or a wrestler would use. So more about overall body strength, body weight exercises. We do a lot of body weight exercises to try to get them up to speed. And again, it will naturally come to them by just coming to practice every day and working hard. But you can definitely see the difference, especially the first month or so of the season, where the guys who aren't maybe in wrestling shape or haven't been lifting a lot, you will see a strength difference, but it does shorten as the season goes on.
I think one of the things we talked about last week, and we can kind of go even deeper on for this next this week, since we're still previewing the season. When you talk to younger wrestlers, maybe middle school or even before, that are trying to get into wrestling, and they have to start learning what workouts to do for wrestling, what diets to keep for wrestling. What do you think is one of the hardest things to kind of transition from being a quote unquote normal kid to then having to be this wrestler who has to do all these things to kind of keep their wrestling weight in shape and do all the things they have to do to have a good wrestling career?
Well, the first thing would be, watching their weight. If you're just a regular kid that's come in and you've never, had to watch your weight, you never cared about your weight, it's a total shock, And when they're younger in middle school and whatnot, we don't even focus on that. Whatever they weigh, they wrestle. We don't make them make weight. It's not there's nothing good about that, in my opinion, to make a kid have to really worry about his weight or her weight as a 12, 13-year-old. But we do have to be conscious of it. So, we talk to them about it, about eating healthy. And a lot of times the middle school kids will just do it. I think it's almost a psychological thing. They don't have to do it, so they want to do it. So, I want to get in better shape, and I want to maybe lose a couple pounds to go to the weight class below. I said, well, if that happens naturally, that's fine, but I don't want you, cutting weight. So getting used to that and just getting it in their mind is the first thing. And the second thing is just the daily grind. Wrestling is not like other sports where, say basketball, you got a game on Tuesday, you got a game on Friday. So there's 2 days a week you don't have practice. And then maybe you get a Saturday off, or maybe you just come in for a walkthrough and you don't practice on Sundays. Or wrestling, sometimes we're a Monday through Saturday practicing for weeks and weeks before we ever get to wrestle. So like for us, our first match is until December 14th. And we started, I think, on November 15th. So we're going to literally have, a 6-day-a-week practice schedule until our first meet. So they are just going to have to get used to that daily grind. And it can, it takes a lot of mental strength to get through that. And like we talked about last week, that's one of the things that I love about the sport, because it does build that mental toughness. But believe me, at first, especially as a young kid, it can be kind of a shock to just how difficult it physically and mentally it can be.
And that was kind of what I wanted to touch on after that, Gary. And talking about wrestling as a sport, obviously, we all know with every sport, we all have to hang up the cleats or the whatever have you at some point, the sneakers, whatever. But some get to wrestle longer, some get to have to hang them up a little earlier. But talking about it as a sport, what do you think it as a sport teaches you and prepares you for life? And what do you as a coach try to instill in some of your boys to get them prepared for life after high school?
Yeah, that's a great question. It really just prepares you for the reality of the real world, if you ask me. You're gonna have a lot of heartbreak in life. There's gonna be a lot of things that don't go your own way. There's gonna be a lot of things you don't want to do in life, and there's gonna be a lot of things that you frankly wish were different. And a lot of those things we can't change, or we can change them if we work hard enough. So I really think it can translate to just about anything in life because of the difficulty of the sport, especially when you first start out. That first year or two that a kid wrestles, it's more about their own mind, getting their own mind ready and getting them to believe that they can do, the 2-hour practices every single day outside of Sundays for 4 months. And a lot of times you don't feel like, it's a Wednesday, it's your 4th week of practice, you haven't wrestled yet, and you got to come into this room with a bunch of other guys who are going to be busting their butts, and you've got to grind and drill your moves and wrestle against guys who are you see every day or trying to kick your butt every day on the mat. You've got to continually have your mental state in the right frame of mind to do that day after day. And I think that if it's ever taught me anything as a wrestler and as a coach, is that it really prepares you for life and what it throws at you. And a lot of times you can't do anything about it. And if you can, you make the change when you work hard enough.
All right. So last week we also talked about some of the misconceptions of wrestling for people that are outside of it, maybe things that might stop parents from putting their kids in wrestling. And last week we talked about the violence. Like it's not a sport that's about hurting your opponent. It's about controlling your opponent. But that's a misconception about wrestling. Since today we're talking about the diets and the weight checking in and all that, I got to imagine there's a lot of misconception out there from the people on the outside about this is a bad sport for body image, and they're going to be kids trying to do unhealthy things to meet weight class, et cetera, et cetera. So when you meet someone that is going to say that or is trying to use that as an excuse to not get their kid in wrestling, what are some of your responses to that?
I would say that's completely and totally false. With the alpha test that the state requires, you can no longer cut weight like you used to. The state will only let you lose 1.5% of your body weight per week until the end of the season. So that's it. Now, you still have to be conscious of your weight, and you still, you can't just go and have a free for all and eat whatever you want if you're kind of bordering on your weight class. You have to be conscious there. But as far as the body images go, I don't know any wrestler who's ever started the season, come to practice every day, work their butt off, and not felt like they look better at the end of the season. So if it does anything, I think it improves, a kid's body image as far as how they think of themselves, because they get stronger and they feel better physically. So I would say that's definitely not a concern. And there are some kids who don't like to wear the singlet. It's just like a one piece. It's like a long tank top that, goes over your legs. It's stretchy. That's all that it is. Some kids don't like wearing it. Well, the state changed the rules a few years ago. Now you can wear shorts and something similar to an Under Armour shirt if you don't want to wear the singlet. So the body image stuff, I feel like is I don't think it's a problem. And I don't hear people complain about that side of it like they used to because of the rule changes and because of the change in the uniforms. So if anybody still believes that, I would just say all they'd have to do is come in and talk to the kids or the coaches, and they'd see that that's not the case.
Gary, here's a question that I'm just curious about, because in a lot of sports, it's always about it's team mentality, team first, and you don't try to get wrapped up in your individual stats. Obviously, there's team wins, but everyone has their own individual record. As a coach and from a coaching perspective, is that something you want your kids to focus on, or is that something you don't want them to get too wrapped up in? I just got to imagine with individual records, that's something that they're going to be paying attention to.
Oh, they absolutely do. And, we preach a team mentality. That's what I wanted to do is, from the elementary on up, we are all one team, and especially the high school team, we are one team. But you can't ignore the record. But not all records are built the same, and not all weight classes are built the same. Some years, some weight classes are more difficult than others. So you could have a kid who, let's say, is 500, but every week he's wrestling stud after stud, state ranked kid after state ranked kid. And you could have a kid from another school who might have, let's say 20-10. But what we don't know is that 10 of those wins came from forfeits in duels where these other teams of wrestling didn't have, somebody in that weight class. The kid walked on the mat and got his hand raised. So we try to have them not focus on that much, the individual record that much, but we also let them know that not all the records are built the same. And when you're out there on the mat, that record doesn't matter at all. I've seen plenty of kids with great records and even great resumes who will get pinned by much lesser wrestler because that wrestler has wrestled a much harder schedule and that wrestler caught them slipping. So it doesn't matter. When you're on that mat, it's the same size circle that you wrestle in every day, and it's just you versus one other kid. All that other stuff goes out the window.
Gary, before we let you go today, since we are very close to the start of the season and some fans will be going out to wrestling this year, and I want to, for the new people and for the people that are trying to get into wrestling and maybe go support their local wrestling teams, maybe a wrestling 101, like what the point system is, what they should root for, maybe some of the simple rules that they can watch out for as well when they go to a wrestling match and they're rooting for their local team.
Okay, great question. So if you want to go and root for your team but you don't have any idea what's going on, obviously it'd be one kid versus another in one of the 14 weight classes. And in a duel, which is one team versus another, the best thing a kid can do is pin his opponent. That would be 16 points. If they win by 15 points, which is called a technical fall, the referee will stop the match if one person's up by 15 points or more. That's worth 5 points. If you win between 8 points and 14 points, that's 4 points. And just a win between 1 and 7 points is worth 3. So really rooting for kids to get pins or to win by a lot of points would probably be the easiest thing to do, to tell somebody that's coming in. And the main thing you're trying to do as you're out there wrestling is take your opponent down, take them to the mat, and try to turn them onto their back. If you know those things, that's the main thing that you're trying to do in a safe manner within the rules. Gain control of your opponent, take them to the mat, and put them in positions to expose their back because you can get a lot of points that way or have a chance to pin them. And once you go to a couple matches, you catch on pretty quick about the rules. The most common point scored in any style of wrestling and folk style wrestling, which is what we wrestle, is the escape. So if you're on the bottom, if somebody was to take you down, if you were able to get up, release your opponent's hands from you, turn, then you get 1 point. That's an escape. So if you know you need a takedown, you need to expose someone's back, and if you're on the bottom, you need to get out, you'll be fine.
Talking about it, Gary, my last question before we let you go, and it's going to go right into with people supporting their schools too. And what are some of the ways you want to see fan support too, and what is the proper way to support in wrestling too? As we know, there's different ways. We know sports you're supposed to be loud sometimes in certain scenarios, and we want to make sure the new wrestling fans going out there this year they're supporting their teams in the correct manner.
Well, really, the easiest way would be to, again, go to a home duel match and root for your local team. Most high school wrestling duels are on Wednesday. Mondays and Thursdays are usually girls' games. You guys can probably correct me if I'm wrong there. And Tuesdays and Fridays are the boys' games. So the wrestling duels are usually on Wednesdays. So if you've got a kid that plays basketball or you follow the basketball team, there's not going to be any basketball games most Wednesdays. So check your local high school's Facebook page or web page. Look to see when their home matches are, and just go there and support them there. That would be the easiest thing, and that's the thing that gets the kids pumped up and want to come and continue to wrestle, recruit new kids on the team. In my opinion, is the rivalries. Just like in any sport, if you have rivals, it gets the excitement up, and if you have fans in the stands while you're wrestling a rival, it's even better. The atmosphere is amazing that way. That'd be the first way, and the second way I would say is to buy gear. Most of the time, the wrestling teams are funded by their takedown club. And a lot of times the takedown club, they make money through selling apparel or maybe having like a candle sale or a hoagie sale, something like that. But having the attire, I know that as a coach, when I see somebody out and I see them wearing a Wellsville wrestling shirt, it makes me feel very proud and happy. I can imagine what the kids feel like when they see that. It's just not, you don't see it as much as you see the basketball or football shirts that are sold by the boosters, but it does make a difference. And when you're buying that, you're not just, you're not buying that for yourself. You're paying into really helping the kids in your community.
And of course, another way is always watch ysnlive.com and Wrestling Wednesdays with Gary Allsizer. And we'll remind you every Wednesday to go check your local teams for home matches as well.
Gary, thank you so much for joining us this week. And we appreciate your insight. We appreciate your knowledge and, of course, your time. We look forward to bringing you back next week, and we'll have some results to talk about.
Yes. Yeah, we'll have, I'll have all the results from the weekend that we can talk about, and we'll finally have some substance, and we can start pointing out these kids, these great wrestlers in this area. So I'm excited. Thank you guys again.
Thank you, Gary, and we look forward to next Wednesday and talking with you as we'll have some of his results ready.
All right. Have a good one, guys.
Thank you.
That was Wrestling Wednesdays with Gary. We love it. It's the episode 2, week 2, whatever you want to call it. We're so excited to continue doing this throughout the whole winter. You couldn't see it because we was off camera, but every time Gary was talking, like Ty had this like giddy look on his face, like he was so happy we were doing this. This is just something that me and Ty have talked about ever since maybe halfway through fall. How are we going to get wrestling on? How are we going to start to really cover wrestling the way we covered golf in the fall? And this is just an awesome solution that we have on Running Point. I can't wait till we get to talk about results next week.
Yeah, it's just nice also learning about just the sport too. And I mean, if we're lucky, I'm sure there's going to be a Wednesday match that's going to take place in an afternoon when school's not in session or something, and we might be able to make it happen then, and that'd be pretty cool.
We're definitely looking forward to that.
Or we could figure it out some Wednesday night. We'll figure it out.
We'll do whatever we can. Right now, we are going to take our first break of the day. When we get back, we're going to recap all the action from last night, a lot of scores to get to, some post-game interviews, and a lot more. Scotty's coming up at 1 o'clock to 1:30. He'll be having his after a week off last week, he has more trivia questions for Ty, and he'll bring the same flair and topics that he always does. And then at 1:40, we'll be talking to Jeff Brink, the head boys basketball coach at Springfield. So a lot coming up, but right now we are going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back on Running Point, brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown.
New things happen all day. Some are good, some not so good. In today's complicated world, while you're busy working, playing, and living life, we're busy helping you make sense of the day's news. And there's only one place where it comes together with clarity, context, and accountability. It's 21 News at 6 with me, Madison Tromler, and Derek Steyer.
21 News at 6. It's what the day's news really means to you.
Welcome home to a home made homier with Baird Brothers Fine Hardwoods. Inspiration starts at BairdBrothers.com and is turned into reality when high-quality hardwoods are delivered right to your home. Baird Brothers has the latest design trends, shiplap and skinny lap interior siding, antique oak rustic flooring, and, well, you'll find them all at BairdBrothers.com. Ordered easily, delivered conveniently, enjoyed comfortably. BairdBrothers.com.
At Greenwood Chevrolet, shop with confidence knowing we're ready to go the extra mile for you. With the largest selection of used vehicles in the Valley, backed by the Greenwood Advantage Warranty. Every one of our vehicles has undergone our own 126-point inspection, so it passes the most important inspection, yours. No other dealership has the extra inventory, gives you extra for your trade, and goes the extra mile for you. Only at Greenwood Chevrolet.
WRS Wealth Advisors, the area's premier wealth and retirement specialists. Located on South Avenue in Boardman.
Quality, customer service, and integrity. Those are the 4 words that have driven our success since 1957 at Joe Dickey Electric.
Joe Dickey Electric is one Mahoning Valley landmark business that stays current with the requirements of our customers. Family owned and managed, we are an electrical contractor and energy solutions provider. Every member of our team adds to his or her skill set through ongoing training. Residential, commercial, industrial, automotive, and more. We keep ahead of the needs of our customers with a fleet of more than 50 vehicles and 24/7 emergency service, so you're never left in the dark.
Welcome back to Running Point on ysnlive.com, brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown. Anthony Hartley with you alongside Ty Bartell as we pop in. And Ty, we had a lot of action last night on the boys basketball scene. And for everyone keeping score between me and Ty, we are still tied because I just said Ty a lot in a sentence because your name is Ty. We are tied. The tally was 37 going into last night. We both got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then we split that 8. We both got 9. So what? That's 46-46 tied because we both split the games. And as always with our recaps, we want to start with the games that we were at, and we can talk a little bit more educatedly on how the game went. Ty, you had a pretty good one in Wyndham as the Bombers beat Waterloo 63-55. Talk about what you saw from the Bombers and what gave them this victory.
I mean, honestly, there was just a lot of athleticism, both sides. Both teams pressed a lot on defense, created a lot of turnovers, were in your face. You felt every rebound meant that much more because everyone was completely invested in it. Speaking first on the Waterloo side, you were wondering how they were going to replace 20-plus points and Kyle Shockley scoring. They figured it out with Navar Al-Hassan, and boy, oh boy, with that press defense, and he was getting double covered. I'm telling you, this kid was able to get open. Just a junior too, so he still has another year after this, and he was putting in buckets. 27 points on the night, 19 in that first half. He was going off. Good thing with Wyndham, though, on the other side, they did a great job of adjusting defensively. And, I mean, guys like Mckaylan Jones, and you got big guys like Burke Jones and Zach Turk. And then also, of course, Chase I, you know him from the football team as well. But these guys, Chase I and Mckaylan Jones, very good ball handlers, and they feed to the inside guys, Burke Jones, Zach Turk, who are very good on the inside and on the inside block to the shoulder of the paint. And they're very good at driving and finding those driving lanes. Good thing with Wyndham and what you see the whole night, constant ball movement. I mean, they're going to need to trim down the turnovers, obviously, and that's early season, so you get that first game. But Wyndham is constantly moving the ball, and it's a constant offensive scheme of constant movement where there's quick hits that they could always fire to, but everyone's always moving and everyone's always got doing something off ball, and it's very, very tough to adjust. And Waterloo had trouble in that first half. Second half, they were adjusting a little bit, but turnovers by Wyndham's defense that is constantly pressuring you, constantly pressing you the entire court is what won them this game. And our player of the game was Mckaylan Jones. As the point guard, he was able to really do it all, rebounding, assists, getting points, and played very, very good defense too, full court pressing the whole time. A lot of these kids, both Waterloo and Wyndham, had high motors and very athletic kids. And Wyndham might not have the biggest squad, but they got 3 seniors, 4 juniors, and they're going to be a force to be reckoned with this season.
And you had a chance to talk to head coach Marty Hill and Mckaylan Jones after the game. Let's hear from them and see what they had to say. First, we'll start with the coach and then go with the player of the game. So here is Ty's post-game interview with Wyndham basketball.
Welcome back, everyone, as I am now joined with the winning coach and Marty Hill from the Wyndham Bombers. And, Coach, talking about that game, oh, my God, I think I almost lost my voice, so much running back and forth. When you're talking about a game like that, Coach, how important is it to keep these guys focused? Because when you're running back and forth, offense, defense, it's very easy, a possession, 2 possessions, to really fall behind the 8 ball.
I thought they were really unselfish tonight. Actually, a couple times I thought we overpassed and gave up a good shot or maybe a closer one, but they're good enough players, they probably could have hit those. But I'll always go for the unselfish. And I thought they played with a lot of effort. We got a lot of offensive rebounds at the end of the game, and we've worked on that, but until you're in a real game, not playing against your JVs, when to bring the ball out. We should have ran 4 corner, which when Mickey got called for traveling, he thought about coming out, then he started in, and he traveled. But, he's a senior, he knows, and this is a good group. We're going to have a good season, and we don't have a lot of depth, so we'd like to get some of our younger players if they can come in here and there and help us. And we're a little shorthanded that way tonight, but I thought they held on. Mickey got some cramps, and he plays really hard. They all do. And it was a great way to start the season. Waterloo's a well-coached team. You know, they've had some good teams the last 3 years, and Coach Wise does a good job, and they got my buddy John Herchek on the bench. You know, him and I have been friends a long. We played against each other, actually, but always great to see him, and I always know that his team's going to be well prepared. Jason actually played for John, so they've got a strong program there, and we have a lot of respect for them.
And talking about that too, one player I want to hit at, Navar Al-Hassan, absolutely
Oh,
something
yeah.
special. But the biggest key I wanted to hit at, 19 points in the first half, 8 in the second. What was kind of the locker room discussion in trying to slow him down and not let him be the one that's solely beating you?
Right. Well, we felt that we took some chances on Reach in the first half, and he can make threes, but he actually beat us on a couple, shot fakes or pull-ups. And we told him to just stick. And Chase, we like to play help defense, but when you're guarding a guy as hot as he is, you can't help. And we helped a couple of times. Chase went to help, and he knows. But, again, first game of the year, you've been playing in practice against JVs, and all of a sudden the pace is really a lot faster. So overall, I thought they played really hard, and I thought we played better defense second half. We actually, Coach Cohen did a great job changing defenses. He is our defensive coordinator, and kept them off balance. We ran a little, we call it 22, just a zone trap out front, and it made him come out and handle the ball. He just couldn't always come off of a screen and shoot. So tried different things, and Coach came up with some good ideas. So.
And, I mean, talking about that, too, credit to your defense. I thought they played phenomenal, too. But our player of the game, and Mckaylan Jones, and one of the senior leaders for your team. And like I was telling Brandon here, too, on the broadcast, it's always easy to play basketball and get an offense going when you have that guard mark checked off. And you have a couple, actually. But how important is he to this team, not as just an offensive player, but his defensive effort as well?
Right. I thought he played really hard. He came up with a lot of loose balls, and he played under control for the last couple of years. Sometimes he would get too emotional and get a quick foul, or not get a foul called and get all shook up. He one time the night started to, then he caught himself, and that's a huge step for him because he is very talented. We have a lot of talented kids, but all around, he's tall. You don't realize how tall he is because he's so fast, but he's 6'2" and long arms on defense. He gets his hands on a lot of balls, and like I said, they all played good. I mean, Mickey did have a good game, but I thought, Zach was great on the boards. He just really got a lot of key rebounds on both ends. And last year he was sort of a role player. He started, but this year he's really expanded his game. So we're excited about that.
Final question for you, Coach. And I know all these Wyndham diehards and all the old timers know the Garrettsville Garfield rivalry.
Oh, yeah.
And the G-Men coming into town is a real deal. How excited are you for Friday? And just give us a preview to anyone who doesn't know how serious this rivalry is. How big this game is going to be Friday.
Well, it's a big rivalry. And, the kids this close, they all know each other. They all go to McDonald's. They all go to the Dairy Queen. Actually, I'm from Garrettsville. I grew up there, and my grandson's playing for Garrettsville. He's a freshman. So that's a little added for me. But for the kids, they know a lot of these guys. We have there's kids playing for Garfield that played at Wyndham when they were younger. Now they go there. So good matchup. They have good athletes. They have some football players, so they're coming off a winning football season, and they're a very physical team, with the football players in there. So Andy does a great job there. So we know it'll be a good game. I told the kids it's fun to have it this early in the season. We don't have a league game till next week. So good way to start the season, be another tough performer.
Coach Marty Hill of the winning Wyndham Bombers, 63-55 on their debut game here on YSNLive.com. Thank you so much for your time, Coach.
Thank you.
Welcome back, everybody, as I am joined with today's player of the game, Mckaylan Jones. And Mckaylan leading his team with 16 points on the night in a very tough game against Waterloo. Mckaylan, my first question for you in that game, defensive intensity that you guys brought from quarter one to quarter four. How are you guys able to keep up with that much energy? And what does it mean, do you think, to opponents when you're able to bring that kind of defensive intensity and shut them down like that?
Oh, just hard work.
When you look at yourself, though, as a scorer too, Mckaylan, and trying to get this team going, do you take as much pride in your passing as you do your scoring? And if so, do you prefer one to the other, passing or scoring, and why?
Passing, so I can get my teammates open look.
As far as your teammates go, and you talk about a lot of guys that are joining too, give me a little bit of a inside the locker room with this team and how close the chemistry is with these guys and how good this team can really be.
Oh, we're really close. We've been playing with each other for forever. We've been playing since we've grown up.
Talking about this matchup too, we know Waterloo just over there in Atwater. We know this was a big game. You guys start off with a victory, but I know everyone in Wyndham's looking to Friday because you got the G-Men coming to town. How excited are you to face Garrison Garfield, and what are your do you have any warnings you want to give the G-Men for coming into town?
Oh, I'm happy for it. I'm ready.
You hear it right here from Mckaylan Jones. He's ready. We're ready. We'll have that game on ysnlive.com on Friday. It's Wyndham versus Garrettsville. Mckaylan, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
That was a couple of post-game interviews from the Wyndham game. They got the win over Waterloo, 63-55. As Ty, you got to catch up with both Mickey Hill and Mckaylan Jones. And I love how sometimes you try to bait these players into giving some warnings out.
I do. I know how real the rivalry is, and don't worry. I know. I mean, the players take it serious too. But yeah, Mickey Jones and of course Marty Hill. I mean, glad to finally get Coach Marty Hill some airtime on the show too, and just Coach Marty Hill. I mean, the court's named after him too, so I mean, he's had such a huge influence on this basketball team, and again, does a great job, and he gets a victory and a lot of talent over there in Wyndham, and they're very athletic.
All right, you talk about a talented athletic team. We moved from Wyndham to where I was in Campbell Memorial. We had Coach Cantorino on to preview this season, and he told us this is going to be an exciting team to watch. It's not going to be the team last year that everyone saw. Boy, was he right. Oh, my word, is this team athletic, talented, skilled. They have multiple players on the floor that can beat you, and they made a little bit of a statement to the area because they pounded Hubbard 81-45 on this night. It was just one of those games. It's hard to believe, but maybe halfway through the second quarter, Hubbard had a 21-17 lead. I mean, Hubbard came back from the 9-0 run that Campbell started the game with. They really started to make this game more back and forth. And then out of nowhere, Campbell put together a 9-0 run to go into halftime, came out of halftime and just put their foot on the gas and made that 9-0 run a 20-0 run before Hubbard even scored again. And it was just all over from that point on. Campbell completely ran away with it to the point where at the end of the fourth quarter, it turned into a running clock.
Yeah, and I knew Campbell bringing those players back. I knew it was going to be one of those teams to watch out for. I'm excited. I'll get a chance to see him a little bit later on in the season, but I'm glad to see that they're the real deal. And, hey, no bumps in the road to start, it seems like, with the chemistry when you put up that many points.
Kevin Jones was the player of the game. He led the team with 20, but they had 4 players in double figures as Xavier Leonard had 15, Jameer Weaver had 14, and freshman Isaiah McCray had 10 to add to the scoring. I had a chance to catch up with Nick Cantorino and the player of the game, Kevin Moore, after this game. So let's hear what they had to say about Campbell's big win over Hubbard. Hold on, let me make us full screen. Anthony Hartwig here with the winning head coach, Nick Cantorino. Coach, man, what a big first win. What did you feel like to finally get out there and get a game under your belt?
Tell you what, the environment was awesome. It was nice getting people in the stands. Our student section was loud. Kids kind of fed off it. I think they tried to do it a little bit too much early on, trying to impress their friends and family and stuff. And then I felt the second half we just came out and played ball, and that's really what put us over the edge there.
You did set the tone early. You opened the game with a steal and a dunk on the other end. What does it mean to set the tone like that early? Even though the first half they came back a little bit, but you set the tone early.
Yeah, we set the tone. We kind of got lulled there for a little while. I think it was 9-0, and we had a couple opportunities to kind of push it open a little bit, and didn't capitalize on it. Let them stick around, and they did a heck of a job fighting back. Made it a little bit tighter than we wanted it to. But like I said, I'm just impressed with our guys just coming out and playing that second half and really setting the tone and getting us going when we needed to go.
it was a big second half for sure. How important was that 9-0 run to end the half? To you guys
Absolutely.
coming out at halftime with that momentum?
I think they had us down 4, I think, and we just started making a couple aggressive moves. We kind of settled there. You know, we fell in love with the 3, and again, when you see zones out there and we got some guys who could shoot it a little bit, they kind of fell in love. But again, we're so hard to guard when we're aggressive. And that end of the second quarter, we started being aggressive and got some easy buckets, and that really is what turned it around for us.
A lot of people are going to talk about your offense. Talk about your defense.
Yeah,
this team to 45 points.
Yeah, we have some good length and athleticism, and we're excited about it. We got pretty good depth, and again, we want the game to be up and down. We think with our athleticism and our depth that we can outrun people, and that's kind of what we tried to do. I think we kind of wore these guys out a little bit, but again, that's pretty much what we're trying to accomplish every game.
Tonight's player of the game was Kevin Moore. Talk about what he means to this team and what you saw to him tonight.
Not just him, but everybody. But Kevin's just such a good leader. Them guys were waking up 5 a.m. getting workouts in before school, you know, working out after school. Just awesome kids, awesome group of seniors. We have some other kids, younger kids that just kind of learning from these guys. So we're going to be in good shape in the future. But yeah, I can't say enough about Kevin and the rest of the seniors.
This place was rocking. When we talked before the season, you told us how excited Campbell was to get basketball back. What did it feel like to have this crowd?
Oh, it was awesome. It's just the environment, the intensity. It gets so hot in here. Everyone's screaming. It's just an awesome gym for a game, and hopefully all our games are like this. And, you know, maybe next time we get a few more people out here, it's even more exciting. But, I mean, my hats go off to the Campbell community. This atmosphere was awesome, and I'm hoping it stays like that.
It's a big win, but it is just one. How do you use it to keep it going and keep momentum up?
Yeah, absolutely. We have big expectations. You know, we set ourselves up with a pretty good scrimmage schedule. But again, it's just game by game, taking it day by day, fixing some of the mistakes we made today, tomorrow, and then, Coach, see ya. Sorry about that. But it's just taking it day by day and just keep improving every day.
Coach, thank you so much. Congratulations on the win. We'll talk to you again real soon.
Appreciate it.
Anthony Hartwig here with Kevin Moore after Campbell's big 81-45 win over Hubbard tonight to open the season. Kevin, what did it feel like to kind of get out there and get this season underway?
It felt good. You know, we didn't have fans for like 2 years. So in the first half, you know, we had the first game jitters. You know, we was a little nervous. But second half, we just came out and played. We like all the night, the outside noise, we just walked in and just played.
You started real well, and then it kind of got, you know, stagnant. But then that second half, like you said, came out strong. What was the message at halftime?
We just had to keep our composure. You know what I'm saying? We know the type of caliber team we is. We just had to keep our composure. We knew we was going to pick it up eventually.
Your game is effective from the inside and the out. What kind of thing do you take most pride in your basketball game?
I think I'm a very good shooter. You know, when I got it going, I can shoot the ball, but I settled a little too much today. I need to be a little aggressive, but I'm going to pick it up next game.
And they always say shooters got to shoot. What do you think your confidence level is at right now?
You know, I can't lose my confidence, so my confidence level is a little high, so you know what I'm saying.
This is a big win. How do you guys use it as momentum heading forward?
It's great. We had to set the tone, you know, first game, let everybody know. So it was pretty good. It was a good momentum boost.
I think everybody knows. If you have a message for your fans before we let you out of here. First time we get to see a student section in over a year. What's it like to have them behind your back?
Hey, it was great. We feed off them. They picked it up for us. They really did.
All right, Kevin, thank you so much for joining us. Great game, and congratulations on the win.
Yes, sir. Appreciate it.
Kevin Moore and Coach Cantorino talking to us after the Red Devils' big win over Hubbard. And that's the first time I had the chance to talk to Kevin. And I'll tell you what, not just the senior leadership that Coach Cantorino talks about and raves about. He's just a very respectful young man. He called me sir a couple of times before the interview. He called me sir a couple of times during the interview. Yes, sir. You know,
it was a good interview at alone too. I mean, gave very good.
I mean, you don't see that a lot of kids these days that are just super respectful of the people they're talking to.
That gives you confidence that he is one of your leaders. So, I mean, Camel, I think, going to be well off, and there's some matchups with the Red Devils, especially in that NBA and outside of it that I'm excited for.
Friday, it gets real because Friday they have a big matchup. I had it in my brain and I just lost it, so I have to go look. Oh yeah, they go to Badger, and we saw Badger already open the season with a win. Badgers a big team, big as far as size-wise. It's going to be interesting to see how they defend Campbell's athleticism and ability to shoot the ball.
Yeah, no doubt. And I think it's going to be really interesting to see Badger going up against this Camel team. And it's going to be another test. I think Camel answered the first one in a big way because I think a lot of people were thinking Hubbard could make this one a little bit closer. But no, Camel really brought their guns to this fight. And we'll see if they
can. Figuratively.
Yeah, obviously.
We go to some of the scores around the area. I want to get through some of these final scores as well. Mooney got the big win over Western Reserve, 63-43 to open the season. Coach Palermo has to be happy with that effort. 43 points is quite a good defensive effort to put out for a high school boys basketball team. Canfield rolled over Lakeview, 71-40 after struggling a little bit with Marlington.
Yeah, and I mean, that was good to see Canfield pick it back up too in Lakeview. We've seen them. I mean, they've been putting out some solid performances too on both sides of the ball, boys and girls. So don't count out Lakeview at all. They were just going up against a very talented Canfield team.
Yeah, Lakeview is 1-0. They had the win over Champion coming into that night, so they were coming with momentum as well, and Canfield shut them down. Heartland Christian's offense keeps doing what they're doing. 80-58, they beat United, and that is now 2 games over 80, 1 game over 100. It's just
Coach Scott must be so happy for his boys and his squad right now, what that offense is able to do, moving like a well-oiled machine. The Lions are the real deal.
3-0 Heartland is on the season now as they venture on. You look at Beaver Local, they got the win over Columbiana. The score was 75-53. And this was just one of those nights where Beaver Local had control from the jump, and they never looked back.
Yeah, and I mean, props to you for picking this one as Columbiana fell short. 53 points of offense, nothing to scoff at, but I mean, Beaver Local able to just put it on the offensive side with over 70-plus points. Credit the Beavers for coming away victorious in this one.
Girard gets a big win for this program. They struggled last year, only 3 wins in the season, but they open with a win here for 2021 over Ursuline, 49-47. They get the win down the stretch. So congratulations to Girard on getting a big program building win.
Yeah, no doubt. And obviously we know the Ursuline squad isn't at full strength right now, but hey, it's still a big win for Girard, and it was still one where I thought Ursuline still had really good, talented players that came out onto the court. And Girard went out there, had a big victory, and won close down the stretch. So props to the Indians for coming away with a huge victory over, like you said, a very good program.
You look at Howland. This is the one you got right that secured the evening tie, by the way. 67-56 over Poland. And as we talk about this Howland game, Noah Ricks, our announcer for Howland, caught up with Coach Boobin after the game. So here's what he had to say about the Tigers' win over Poland.
All right, Coach Boobon, how does it feel knowing you got this statement victory over an area powerhouse in Poland?
Feels great. It's awesome. We thought we had a chance to have a good team this year. We didn't, in any of our scrimmages, we didn't play real well. We were still trying to find our pieces and who was going to do what. So I did not know what was going to happen tonight. Like, I felt that, honestly, we could have got beat bad and we could have won big, just depending on a few things that happened during the game and our attitude. And I just loved our attitude. We had a huge lead and lost it, and a lot of teams go and tank after that, and we just cranked it up and kind of really pulled away from them. So I couldn't feel any better.
And, of course, you have your best scorer in Anthony Masucci going off for 32 tonight. So how does it feel knowing you can have that guy with this development going off for those kind of nights?
That kid's pretty good. The kid's pretty good. I told everybody last year, and kind of because of COVID – and because of him getting hurt about 8-9 games in, like nobody really got a chance to see him. He was averaging 19 points and 8 rebounds last year. And I'm telling everybody, like, this kid can really play. And then he was done for the year. And honestly, he didn't start practicing until about a week and a half ago. He hurt his other knee in the fall here. So you're not 100% sure what you're going to get, but he was raring to go. Give the kid credit, man. He put the work in rehab. I mean, he's a competitor. That kid is a competitor. Took a few bad shots that we'll try to correct, but when you got a kid that's hot, you got to let him go a little bit.
And, of course, you definitely have the depth for you guys. Of course, Alex Henry going off for 12 tonight. So how does it feel knowing you have the important depth for you guys?
Down to sophomores, first varsity game, 12 points. Again, you never know what you're going to get out of them. We know that Alex has the talent, but the first real varsity game, you never know what you're going to get. And he played great in the fourth quarter. A couple of our seniors that haven't been big scores or anything in the past. I thought Grant Brown played great defense on 4 for them, who's a really good player. And I thought Bobby Sullivan was huge at the end, getting a couple baskets underneath and really playing smart. So they were really unheralded guys coming up, but we thought they were going to be good and help us. And it's great to see them do that in game 1.
And how are these early season non-conference games important for you guys come tournament time?
They're huge. Poland's in our tournament, and Poland's always a very high seed. So, you get down to when you're voting, and you always look at head-to-head matchups. So hopefully that can come back and help us. But our schedule's so tough. We play almost every team that's in our district, which are a lot of very good teams. And then we play all the big schools around here. Harding, Boardman, we play them all twice. So Canfield, not a lot of easy games for us, but that's the way we like it.
And last question, you guys got a big backyard rivalry of somewhat against Lakeview on Friday, and the Bulldogs are definitely going to be no slouch. So how are you going to prepare?
They're never a slouch. They knocked us out of the tournament last year in a game that we had a 10-point lead in the third quarter. So I know these guys don't forget that. So it's always a great, intense, just like this. This was awesome for a Tuesday night, having fans back in the stands. Kids were loud, and I think it'll be even bigger on Friday.
All right. Thanks, Coach, for your time, and good luck Friday.
Thank you.
That was our own Noah Ricks catching up with Coach Boobin after Howland's big win over Poland to open the season. We'll continue with some scores, and then we'll get to Scotty in the studio here. So some last scores for you from last night. McDonald gets the win to open the season, 56-40 over, I believe they play, Lordstown.
Yeah.
You look at Garfield, they beat Middle Ridge 66-29. South Range went on the road and fell to Southeast 65-50. Fitch bounced back really nicely after their loss to open the season. They went on the road and beat Hudson 55-46. You look at Lowville, they got the close win over Crestview, 58-53. Badger opened the season with a win over East Palestine, 60-28. Wyndham, of course, won 63-55. We talked about that game. Brookfield fell to Matthews 65-48. And that will do it for the final scores from last night. Head over to ysnlive.com for recaps and stories to see who did well and who stood out from the night of action. So, Ty, without further ado, your nemesis has rolled into the studio as we start to play the Imperial March a little bit.
Well, I wanted to just quickly give props to Noah Ricks for a great interview too with Coach Boobin, and did a great job post-game interview, as we love to see it too from our other announcers too on Running Point.
Well, real quick, let me pop back in and put my camera back up, just to speak on Mr. Ricks, because I got to hear him call a little bit of that game last night during halftime. It was staggered, so my game was in halftime, his wasn't. He is a really good broadcaster. If you haven't had the chance to listen to his games, make sure you tune in on ysnlive.com. He really, really top notch. And I can't.
Howland's taken care of. Check. Howland's got it. Check. Canfield's got it. Check. AAC's covered.
You got it. So now here comes Scotty. And Scotty, it's been a minute. You were off last week. You come back to us. I feel like it's an 80s breakup song. Baby, come back. As Scotty is back.
I don't know if it's 80s, but reunited and it feels so good.
All right, before we get a copyright claim on YouTube, Scotty, how you feeling after the 2 weeks? I know as an Ohio sports fan, it's been a rough weekend, but other than that,
rough.
It's so rough. He's wearing all gray. He is supporting nothing.
He's supporting
X.
He's supporting the mood. It's gray and gloomy in Ohio right now.
Yeah. Who would have thought that right now the Cleveland Cavaliers would be the biggest bright spot for Ohio sports? That's really saying something. But yeah, it's been a rough one, especially pretty much for all, not mathematically, but realistically, any chances of the Browns going to the playoffs pretty much going down the drain with that loss to Baltimore.
I wouldn't go that far, Scotty. I know
They got to win this next one against Baltimore out of the bye week, though.
you look at the AFC records overall. The AFC, no team has run away with the AFC right now, and there's a lot of log jamming. And although the Browns aren't playing exactly playoff football right now, I wouldn't throw in the towel. But I know you ride that roller coaster, and right now you're on the downswing of it. So I'm sure.
Yeah, it's like moguls on the roller coaster. He goes up.
If they come off that bye and beat Baltimore, you'll be back up and saying we're going to be in the playoffs and we're going to be fine. So
I think Scotty's slowly jumping off the Baker bandwagon now.
Geez, Scotty.
Well, look.
Before the season started, Scotty had to take that Baker was a top 10 quarterback.
I did.
Scotty, I mean, he gave you 4 interceptions and he gave you 3 points, Scotty. Is he still a top 10 in your mind?
Oh, man. That take has not aged well. I will say that.
And here's another bad thing for you because the Cavaliers are doing well, and if they get into the playoffs as I believe the 7th seed, Ty gets 10 points because that's what you bet him the last time you were on Running Point.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Keep an eye on that.
Yeah.
Whose takes always seem to age the best here?
I just gotta hope the Cavs get in as an even higher seed than the 7. Then I could be happy, and Ty doesn't get the points.
I'm telling you, man. I mean, not to speak on it for too long, but I mean, just what I've been watching in them, they've been impressing me too, and I like how they play team ball. They move the ball very well. I'm excited for them this season. I'm excited for them in the future too. A lot of young guys.
Speaking of points, Scotty, it's your chance to kind of get some points after the week off with trivia with Ty. I'm going to give you some time on the clock. We're going to have about 15, 20 minutes that you can take to try to stump Ty, and I'm sure you brought some great questions with you today.
I did, and as usual, with the help of a friend, Super Dave. So
that means we have to fact check.
Yeah, these first couple are gonna have to be fact checked.
The last time we had Super Dave, he had such a generic, like a weird question that I couldn't even fact check it. He was like, it was something about you hit into the left field upper deck home runs on Yankee Stadium. It's like there's no way to check that.
Yeah, we're gonna limit it to like answers that can actually like exist somewhere in a database.
He got it off a documentary he watched. There's no way to go
you
back
have
and
to prove the answer in some aspect, like either the video or a database or something. You can't just make up a question and answer something there and not have proof something.
Let's see what Scotty has this time and see if we can fact check Super Dave.
I think mine are pretty good too, but to start with Super Dave's, here's question number 1 for you, Ty. What 2 men, I repeat, what 2 men were on the field for both Hank Aaron's 715th home run and Pete Rose's 4,192nd base hit?
How do I fact check this? That's a long Google search.
So what was it? Hank Aaron's 715th home run and then Pete Rose's
4,192nd base hit.
See those numbers again, Scotty. How many? Hank Aaron's what?
Hank Aaron's 715th home run and Pete Rose's 4,192nd base hit.
Pete Rose's 1. 1,400.
4,100.
I was going to say that sounds a little low. 4,196.
92 seconds.
This one's a tough one, Scotty. I mean, I'm not even gonna. But I'm trying to think. So, the Dodgers Braves game where he hit 715 was. I know the historic one was in 74.
We're gonna have to take Super Dave's word for it because I don't. I can't find anything.
We're gonna have to ask him how he came.
Credit
up
your
with
sources,
this.
Super Dave.
Yeah, like honestly, like what are we doing here? But and then it was the Padres.
It's gonna be some umpire that called both the games. Do you know umpire names, Ty?
It probably is. These two events happened, I'm pretty sure, like 10 years apart. So I'm trying to think of what players that would have been on the field.
And why emphasize men? Like, there's not a woman baseball player that's going to be on the field.
Like, I mean, he really said men.
He wanted you to know men
that are playing in the Major League Baseball. Oh my God.
Good luck, Ty.
I know. I'm just trying to think. I'm thinking of the starting lineups of each one.
So it's the good news is he only gets 2 points if you get it wrong because it's only a 2-answer question. By the way, the score, if everyone's keeping score, is 46-21. Tie with the lead.
Scotty's like, well, don't say it.
Yeah, you're going to hear it, Scott. But he did win 2 weeks ago.
He did. Scotty's been able to pull off some wins on.
He won today.
He's won like twice, I think, too.
He's won 2 days. These 7-part questions sometimes backfire on him, but that's how you've been able to get a big lead. Ty, I'm giving you a minute and a half, my friend. You have until 1:14 on the clock. It is 1:12:40 now. Gonna take this time as Ty's silent thinking lets us remind everybody the comment section is open on brought to you by Boardman Mitsubishi. Leave us a comment on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, or Twitch. We'd love to hear from you. Maybe you know the answer to this really random trivia question. We won't put it up to help Ty, but we'll definitely give you props if you get it right.
I'm just thinking of like the lineups of both teams, and I can't even think of players that would have
30 seconds, Ty. I heard someone just like air. I'm here. There it is again. You hear that, Scotty?
I'm trying to make sure this name is correct.
Yeah,
so
it's breaking his
I looked
computer.
up pronunciation.
Air.
I can't even.
Time up. Do you have a guess?
Yeah. No, I can't even think of players that were playing for Dodgers, Braves, or Padres, Reds that played on both
2
squads.
points to Scotty. Scotty, what's the Super Dave answer?
Well, Anthony, you kind of cracked. You
Was it really an umpire?
It's Steve Garvey. I'm assuming that was a player, and umpire Leave where?
Oh my, that's I told you to get sadistic with these questions, and that is absolutely diabolically sadistic. But there's no way to fact check.
Garvey play, Scotty.
I can look that up for you right now. It's a name I'm not familiar with. Because these questions Dave comes up with are usually from like the 70s decade. So
Scotty wasn't even a thought yet.
Here's the thing I'm saying, because if Steve Garvey wasn't on the field when this happened, that was the question. Was on the field.
You're gonna get like this for 1 point when you're up by 23. You're gonna be that guy.
If he's gonna get sadistic with the questions, I'm gonna get sadistic with the point scoring. Then we're gonna get sadistic.
Ty would be a coach that challenges a touchdown when he's up 37-3.
Okay, just to answer your question from a moment ago, Ty, Steve Garvey, he started his career, he played for the Dodgers from 1969 to 1982. And then
he played with the Padres.
That was from 83 to 87.
So he was actually on the field, or he was just on the team's roster?
It says on the field.
But there's no way to fact check it, Ty. I'm sorry, you lost.
That's all right.
Blame and then
what's the next one?
There's
Scotty?
another one from Super Dave.
Oh, geez.
He wants to know what pitcher surrendered both Willie Mays' 660th and final home run and Hank Aaron's 660th home run.
That one could be easy to fact check.
I'm trying to think of when Willie Mays would have hit his final one.
Oh, okay. So we'll see.
Well, I gotta figure it's the same one as Hank Aaron, because I think the one that gave it up to Willie Mays, and I mean, if it's a one for Willie Mays, and I'm thinking it's got to be the same one for Hank Aaron. I'm not sure if it's Hank Aaron's 660th, but it was Don Gollett that was pitching when Willie Mays hit it.
You got me there, Ty.
Yep, and I fact checked it too. So, by the way, the day that Willie Mays hit his home run, it was also a day that the Soviet Union tested a nuclear missile. So, it wasn't really big news because we all thought that we were about to get nuked.
Anthony gets a history point for that one.
So now the score is 44-20, 23. He had 21 going in. So 44-23. Scotty, now you have a couple of your own, I hope.
I do.
Good.
Couple of my own. The first one, Ty, and these are going the two. We go from baseball to the NBA now. These are two NBA ones for you. The first one is the San Antonio Spurs won the 1999 NBA championship. What was the record that year during the regular season?
Say it again, Scotty, so I can.
Again, the question is, the San Antonio Spurs won the championship. They were the 1999 NBA champions. What was the regular season record during that season?
If I'm correct, I think this was a shortened season, and I think it was. Are you talking the 98-99 season, Scotty? Like the 1999? Okay. I think this was a shortened season because I know there was a few shortened seasons in the NBA, and I thought there was one. I'm pretty sure there was one in the 90s, and I think it was that one. I think they were 37-13 in 50 games.
Oh, Scott,
You're good, Ty. I thought I was maybe gonna be able to.
I was thinking 82 originally, but I knew there was some shortened seasons that happened throughout, and I wasn't sure if it was that one. I knew it happened on one of the Spurs runs.
Make it 45-23 tie leads.
Another quick bonus one I'll throw in there about that season before I get into my last question. How many losses that year? How many losses did the Spurs have at home during that season?
That must be hard to fact check. Talk it through, Ty. Are you sure you want that answer?
This one's tough because I'm trying to think. I'm trying to remember if they did do an even 25-25. I'm trying to think of their 13 losses. I think they had because they went on a huge streak at the end, and I knew they were losing a little bit. I think if I'm right, and that they played 25-25, I think they were 21-4 at home that season. I think they lost 4 games at home that season, but I don't know if they played 25-25 is the only thing.
Well, as far as the number of losses, again, Ty, you are correct right on. I'm not exact. I think you got the number of wins too. I'm not 100% sure.
You know what? I'm giving them 2 points.
But I know they had 4 losses.
Give that. That's
So
I don't know if they actually played 25-25 and made it even because of the shortened season. So I don't know that for sure.
47-23.
You're right on there.
Scotty,
and then
you had about 7 minutes.
Yeah, this is my final question I had for you today, Ty. Let's see if you could get this. This season and these games were referenced in The Last Dance, Michael Jordan Chicago Bulls documentary. But I want to know from you, Ty, during the 1989 regular season in the NBA, the Cleveland Cavaliers, if you remember that, and I know you do, they reference and the Cavs went 5-1 against the Bulls that season, and I want you to name. I want you to give me the scores of those 6 games and give me the one game that the Bulls won in the score.
That's a good question, Scotty. I believe the first game these two played in the 88-89 season was towards Christmas, and I think the Cavs won that one. Scotty's trying to get these points back, but I think I know some of these scores. 107-96 in that first game versus the Bulls. Cavaliers won at 107-96. Second game came a week or so later in January, I think, at Cleveland, and the Cavs won that one 103-98. And then they won again, I think, in Cleveland in March, and they beat them pretty bad, 115-91. Chicago I think it was back at Chicago, too, at the end of that month, and Cavs won again by 9, 109-100. This is where it gets hazy, because I'm trying to remember when the Cavs lost that season. I think they won in April of 90 or 89, 111-92 as well.
You got all those scores and the outcomes right, except for I'm still looking for what was the one game that the Bulls won during that run and during that stretch, and what was the final score?
See, I'm trying to think if the Bulls. See, because I know the Bulls won the playoff series, but
they won one. I know I shouldn't be giving, a genius hints here, but the Bulls did win one of the 6 regular season games played between the teams that year. So they did have one win. And of course, as you said, the playoff series. But what was the score of their win?
See, I can't remember because I thought the Cavs went undefeated against the Bulls that season. And that was what Michael Jordan was referencing, that they hadn't beat the Cavs going into that playoff series. I thought the Cavs were 6-0 because I thought the Bulls were very close in that last game because it was in April, because Jordan referenced it, because I think Cavs won it 90-84. But he was using that as a driving point as they were getting better and getting closer to beating the Cavs throughout the regular season.
Well, I could be wrong, but according to Google, it has down that the Bulls did defeat the Cavaliers once that season. But, of course, the Cavs winning the season series 5-1.
You could be right, Scotty. I thought that they didn't beat the Cavs going into that season, but you could be right.
So how many points are we giving you then? How do we divvy these points up?
I say, he's gotten 2, 3, 4. I hate to say it, but he got the scores, the result. We got to give him, I think, at least 5.
50-23.
You could give Scotty a point if the Chicago
50-24. I'll give Scotty a point. Scotty, I have one for Ty before we get out of here, because this one that I got during Thanksgiving, one of my family members gave me this nugget of history, and I think it has some local ties. So we'll end with this, and I'll pop myself on the screen.
And just a real quick FYI, the Bulls beat the Cavaliers. The only game that you didn't get it, Ty, but they beat them. It was the first game they played that season on November 2nd against each other. They beat them 124 to 119.
All right, props to you, Scotty.
All right, Ty, here's my trivia question for the day. In 1968, Mickey Mantle played his last game as a Yankee, September 28th, 1968 to be exact. Who came in to replace him in that game? They subbed him out before the game was over. I believe he had 2 at-bats. Who replaced him?
That's a good question, Anthony. Because you always think about that too when the players last at bat, and usually too, they're subbed out. I remember Derek Jeter getting subbed out. Trying to think of who was all on that entire Yankees roster, and who would have came in, because I know it was 68.
Giving you another 40 seconds. Time.
Okay.
We gotta get to our picks for the night before Jeff Brink comes on.
I think
13 seconds.
Andy Costco.
You got it. Former Struthers Wildcat, by the way.
I was thinking about it.
Andy
You
Struthers.
said local ties, and I was thinking about it. I was like, wait a minute. That's what
Andy Costco from
popped in my
Struthers
head.
High School.
Yeah, popped in my head.
Played for the Yankees, and then he came in, and in that game, he hit his 15th home run of the year in that game. So that's Andy Costco's.
The local ties helped me out on that one.
Local ties, that was more about getting the love to the Struthers and actually.
Yeah. You made me think about it with that one. That one helped because that's what popped in my head when I thought
I
about it.
wanted you to get that one so we could give some love to the Struthers Wildcats. So, former Struthers Wildcats, Andy Costco came in to sub out Mickey Mantle, and we got to give some love to the local people, Scotty, every now and then.
Yeah, we do. That's for sure. And guys, thanks for having me as a part of the show today. And I got you twice today, Ty. You
3 times technically. You got me on the Bulls game too.
Yeah, I guess I could give myself 3. So, but you still have a very healthy lead. But I'll continue to rack my brain to come up with some stumpers.
Hey, Scotty, I went on a pretty big run to start, too, and you've been coming back. You're fighting every single time, too. It's not as easy getting these questions, so you're coming with heat.
So that'll do it for Scotty's segment. Scotty, thank you for coming on, and we'll see you on the Power Hour, I'm sure.
Yes, Power Hour, as always, from 3 to 4. Anthony, thank you, and YSN Nation, see you then.
3 to 4 o'clock. Catch Scotty on the Power Hour. Be sure.
Ty, we have Jeff Brink coming on at 1:40, but before we get there, there are 9 games going on tonight in girls basketball, and 3 of them are on the network. We have to pick the 9, so let's start with the ones that will be on tonight as we go into the 3 games. The first one, Louisville at Boardman. I'll be at the call. I'll be on the call there. Ty, I'll start because it's my game. You got to call Louisville over the weekend. They're a big team. They have a lot of spread out talent. Might be getting Kendall Lloyd back.
If they are, that's a huge X factor to be getting back.
I'm going to pick Louisville in this one. I think Boardman's figuring stuff out. I think they're a really good team. I think Mackenzie Riccatelli, a very good basketball player. They got some inside post presence that will give Louisville some trouble. But I think right now Louisville is just in a better spot. and this a little bit of a bigger team, more weapons. So
Yeah.
I'm going to go with Louisville.
I can't go off the Louisville train. After what I saw, they have so many weapons. They're so deep. And I mean, if they get the players back, they're going to get even deeper. So, yeah, I got to go with just the depth of the Lady Leopards and go with Louisville.
Also on the network tonight, the school will be taking care of this one. It is Middle Ridge at Newton Falls. Middle Ridge opening the season, and they are the last girls team to have their season opener. So after tonight, every girls team in the area will have at least one game under their belt.
And you know what? You always give credit to those home openers, but there's been a lot of spoilers happening for home openers this season. And I hate to say it, but I think another one's going to happen with Newton Falls because I think the Lady Tigers are coming in, and I think they're ready to make a statement.
It's at Newton Falls, so they're gonna have their home opener.
I know that's what I'm saying though. Is Newton Falls? There's been a lot of spoilers, and that you have to watch out for. But I think I think Newton Falls is ready to make a statement this season, and I think they're going to come out well oiled.
I take Newton Falls to win this game as well. And then the last game on the network tonight, Salem hosting Minerva. DJ Oakley will have the call from the Salem Quakers Gymnasium.
Is it your pick first or my pick?
My pick first. Salem looked very, very good against South Range. Their defense is fast. It's suffocating. And I don't think Minerva's ready for it. I'm going to pick Salem.
I was going to go Salem as well. I mean, defense is key to always early season success, and Salem clearly has it.
So we go to games that aren't on the network now. Some other EBC action as West Branch heads to Alliance. Ty, what do you think about this one?
I mean, the Lady Warriors are just so impressive. Walt the Shields, I'll bet on him any day of the week. Give me West Branch.
Yep, give me West Branch as well. Warren JFK takes their 3-0 record to face a very good Southeast team on the road in Ravenna. This might be the biggest test of the year for JFK, but the way they've been playing, I can't pick against them. They've given me no reason to pick against them, especially that win over Matthews. Very impressive. I know this is a step up in division. They're playing Division III Southeast, but I'm going to rock with the Eagles and say they get the win on the road.
Yeah, I mean, I hate to be boring and stick with it, but I mean, Warren JFK has been very impressive this year, and I can't jump off of them right now, starting 3-0. They've looked really good.
LeBray goes on the road to Cardinal. It's your turn to pick first.
And from what I understand, Cardinal's got a pretty solid program. I did get a chance to see them. I still think LeBray can have it figured out. I got to go with the Lady Vikings on this one.
Even though they lost a close one to Girard, I think Girard's on a higher level than Cardinal is. I think LeBray will go on the road and get this win. Cheney goes to Lordstown, Ty. I'm going to take the Lordstown in this one. I think Cheney still has a lot to figure out.
Yeah, I'm going to have to go with Lordstown as well on this one. I was thinking about it too, because I think Cheney has the chance to surprise some people. But from what I think and from what I remember about Lordstown, I don't think their program's that bad. I think they have a pretty solid program, so I'll go with Lordstown.
Mooney goes to Canton Central Catholic on the road. They're 1-1. They beat Columbiana, but they lost to Boardman. Mooney did.
This is going to be a tough one for them. Give me Mooney on this one. They're going to have a tough challenge, but give me Mooney on this one.
I'm going to rock right with you. I just don't know enough about Canton Central Catholic to know if they're going to be dominant over Mooney or not. Edison goes to Buckeye Local.
I'm all with Coach Smith and the Lady Wildcats. Give me Edison in this one.
Yeah, they lost a tough one on Monday, but I think they're going to bounce back nicely. A tough one to Indian Creek on Monday.
They were competitive, though. They were very competitive in that one.
And so I think they're going to come out with, not revenge because it's not Indian Creek again, but they're going to play angry and get the win tonight. So I'm going to pick Edison as well. And that means neither one of us is going to take a lead.
I'm sorry. I mean, we try to hold picks, but we
don't want to disintegrate our picking just to try to split and try to get points. We're not going to get there.
I mean, I'm very protective of where I'm at right now. I'm in a tie. I'm not in a big enough lead to take chances right now.
So
I'm not in a big enough deficit to take chances either.
Those are the 9 games going on tonight. Once again, 3 games on the network. It is Louisville at Boardman. I'll be on the call there. Middle Ridge at Newton Falls. The school has that one. And Minerva at Salem. DJ Oakley will have the call for that one. Go to ysnlive.com/live to see the list of all the games we'll have on the network every night. And be sure to tune in or go out and support the team in person.
Yeah, absolutely. Go out there, fill these gymnasiums, and if you can't, you know where to find it right here on ysnlive.com.
And then as we talk about Jeff Brink coming on and want to give a reminder that if you did not see it, their Saturday game that was originally scheduled got moved. I want to confirm this real quick.
As Anthony, you're going to have to hold it. We could just ask the man himself as coach.
Look at you directing.
Has popped into the studio. Coach, how are we doing today?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me in, guys. Appreciate it.
As we see you guys starting to get a feel for your team now, getting them back after, I'm sure the football team now has you're getting some guys back from that. Talking about the team and what you are looking at, we always like to start off with our Meet the Team segments too. So go on and shout out some of these big names that we're going to expect from the team this year, as well as some of those younger names that you think you might have an impact.
Well, you guys covered a lot of them on the football season. So obviously Mo is an integral part. He's had a great career starting as a freshman and been relevant in the program for years. We have a couple other seniors that played last year that were pivotal members of Coach French's squad that went to the regionals last year. Alex Rothwell, 6'6" senior, had a great summer, and he's a good prospect. And then Adam Wary is just a stud. He's a great player, and he's another guy that's going to be a college player at the next level. He's had we expect big things. So those are the 3 core guys that played last year. And then you had senior Jake Joyce, who's coming off a strong football season. We had so many football players. It was great to see their success on the football field. And hopefully that carries over for us a little bit on the basketball court. Seandell Gardner was another one of the football players you covered. He's going to be a prime player. It's Coach Guerrero's son, Sean. He's had an excellent summer for us. You add in a couple of the other sophomores with Colton Rourke, Dylan Shealy, and then you got some other juniors into the mix with, as I mentioned, with Seandell and then Sean Guerrero and a freshman, Kason Kosick, who was the kicker. All those guys are key integral parts. And we have some juniors, Brandon Price, Nico Servideo, and Kate Gleghorn. They were all guys that could contribute also.
You know, as you get more and more familiar with the team and get more and more time with them, who do you think are going to be not just the leaders on the court stat-wise, the people that are scoring for you, but the vocal leaders and the people that you can count on to be kind of the second coaches on the floor when they're out there and getting people in the right spots?
Well, I think for us in the current situation without the football players, Alex Rothwell and Adam Wary filled that vacancy admirably. But when you add Bo to the mix, Bo's just a natural leader. I mean, everybody in the school respects Bo. He's been tremendous on and off the court. And I think when you throw those 3 in with the experience they have, I mean, you're bringing back 45 points from last year's roster. And all of those kids have a ton of experience in the leadership qualities. They're guys that are trying to make our program better. It's definitely a learning process. I mean, it's a transition. You know, today's our first day with everybody in because we gave the football players a few days off after the game, obviously. So it'll be interesting once we get everyone in to actually practice.
Coach, I mean, looking at the MVAC Scarlet Division, I mean, there's so many great teams. Getting a chance to see Waterloo, Western Reserve, Jackson, Milton, McDonald, Louisville's going to be tall this year. How do you think you're going to fare in this conference, and what are these games going to look like night to night and trying to come away with the MVAC crown?
Well, that's a great point. To be honest, it's going to be a battle. And Springfield hasn't won a league title in 5 or 6 years, so it's been a while. So it's something that one of our goals is to get back to that position where we're fighting for a league title. And unfortunately, last year I know they lost a game with Sebring at the end of the year. It was costly, and it's something where this year the teams are so balanced, and you have some great athletes. I mean, Louisville with that junior class is phenomenal. Reserves got great athletes, and Ridge and Jackson. These guys, and and not to mention obviously Waterloo. And I don't know as much about Sebring with being a younger team because they're bringing in a lot of young guys. But you have some great competition. I mean, it's going to be a battle night in and night out. So we're going to have to perform. And it's one of those things where we will be better in January and February than we are right now. It's going to be a transition process. It's really tough to get kids on a Wednesday and play a game in a week for kids. And some kids I just met yesterday. You know, that's the first time I've ever seen them so in person. So it's just, it is what it is. We have to deal with it. And we always said that that's a good problem to have because that means your football team's had a great year. So that's one that we look at and say, you know, it's a reward to have it. From the other side of it, if you look at like Bo's class, they've never had a preseason because they've gone to the state for 3 years. So they've never had a basketball preseason. So they've missed a good 15 to 16, 17 weeks of preparation for basketball. So you got to give those kids a lot of credit to have the success they've had in basketball, despite missing that much of a preseason, that much of their career, to still be able to come in and have success on the hardwood. That's a tremendous accomplishment.
Coach, we know that the Scarlet Tier is going to be tough. Talk about the non-conference schedule, some teams that pop up, and how well you think the schedule as a whole will prepare you for tournament time.
I actually, I gave Coach French a ton of credit because he really beefed up the non-league schedule tremendously. And that's something when I was here in my first tenure, and we played the Polands, Canfield, Struthers, Salem. We always tried to keep a great non-league schedule because I think it pays off in the long run when it comes to tournament time. And when you look at our competition this year, we play Poland. We've got Ursuline, powerhouses. You've got South Range is going to be a solid team again. Hubbard, Girard, LeBray. Those are all powerhouses and great programs. And then you throw in, Crestview is one of our rivals down the road, which is always a tough team with a lot of good athletes. So our non-league schedule includes a lot of, if you're looking at it from a football perspective, you got D2s, D3s, D4s that are 2-3 divisions bigger than us if it were football. So from a basketball standpoint, you're playing some bigger schools, which I think in the long run makes you a better team. I mean, you got to battle. And when you're talking about Ursuline, Poland, South Range, and these teams, there's some great programs, great coaches. So we're going to have to get better as the year goes. It's going to be a challenge, but I just think it's one of those things that hopefully in the long run makes you a better team as you go into the playoffs.
Looking at the teams within the MVAC and just a lot of teams in the area, I think Rothwell is one of the taller guys on the taller end. Talk to me from a coaching perspective. Like I've always heard coaches say, two of the biggest things to have in offense, if you could have a big or a point guard, if you have those check marked, it makes things a lot easier. How much easier is it to get things flowing on offense and defense, having someone of that height at that position? Because we all know you can't teach height.
Oh, for sure. And the thing that I think is underrated is the coachability aspect. When you look at the size and having a great point guard, we're kind of fortunate. We got two young men that can handle the ball with Bo and Adam that are good playmakers. They can shoot the basketball, they can score, they can defend. And then when you look at Alex having the player inside, they're players too that are unselfish. They make the other players around them better. And I think that's a key component also. When you can make other players better, it makes your program better. And Alex is one of those guys that he's very underrated in our area. And I'll be honest, he's a good player and he's going to have a good future in front of him. He's been willing to learn. I brought in Coach Cullen out of retirement. I coached him to come back, and it's fortunate you got a guy with 600 wins on your staff to come in and try to help us work with Alex to try to develop his game a little bit. And I think it's been a big plus to working with Alex over. And one of the advantages, and this is kind of the blessing in disguise, with the football team success, you get so much more personal attention for the guys that are in the program. We only had 5-6 kids in practice for the last 5-6 weeks. That's it in the entire program. Everybody else in the school plays football. So, it's like Hoosiers. You got to put the chairs out. You don't have enough bodies to scrimmage, so you have to be creative. But the positive is you get a lot of personal attention. You get a lot of skill work, and some of our guys have got some great reps to get better.
And the other thing that when we talked at a volleyball match earlier this season, and we were talking about that problem where you weren't going to have many players in your preseason. I imagine that some of the alumni that are living close, were able to come in and help you a little bit, and being happy to. What's it mean to you that this program develops people and graduates people that want to invest in the program after they're gone and see it succeed?
Well, one thing is one of the reasons why I always wanted to return and finish my career at Springfield is it's kind of like once you're a Tiger, you're always a Tiger. Tiger Nation's awesome. I mean, it's a community, it's a small community where people value athletics. I mean, all you got to do is drive in before the football game. There's signs lined the whole way down Main Street. the police, fire trucks giving them an escort in and out of town. I just, the people, and I told our kids this, it's a really tough situation when you lose a tough game like that in the state semifinal. And it's something I'm sure it's really hard right now because you've got the sting of the loss. When you look back 5 years from now, they're going to really look back and appreciate what they accomplished. In a small town, the people just, this is something that brings our community together. It ties the community together. And I think people that don't understand or didn't grow up in a small town will never really get that when you go to a restaurant or down to the store, people bump into you and that's what they want to talk about. I can remember back when my first tenure in Springfield, we had come off a year, we won 19 games and we lost in the playoffs. It was a tough loss, got upset. And I was in the store and it was a team that I thought was one of the best overachieving teams I've ever coached. I mean, they really achieved more than we could ever dream of. And I walked into the store and people said, "Hey, coach, really tough year." I mean, it was a tough year. Hopefully you guys can regroup for next year. And I was like, that might have been one of the best coaching jobs we ever had. And my kids, bought in. We got everybody to play unselfish. It was just a great season. And people were disappointed because we didn't make it to the regionals. There are high expectations in a community like Springfield. There's people that, this is the big part of their life is high school athletics, and it's what binds the community together. So I think our kids realize that. I mean, obviously the football team has been tremendous. Coach Guerrero does an awesome job. He's a fantastic coach, his whole staff. And if you look at what they've done for the community, hopefully I just can build upon that. And again, Coach French with the basketball program, they had success. Coach Fender had teams that went to the regionals here recently. And back when my tenure, when we got to go to the regional, those are great experiences for the community. And it's something that hopefully we can continue to build upon and set our goals high.
Coach, I know you got the whole world behind you, but we also want to shout out the coaching staff that you're going to be bringing to this group. As we know, of course, the Springfield community always has some of the best assistants. And what are some of the guys that are going to be huge in implementing this culture or continuing this culture in the Springfield boys basketball program?
Well, as I said, getting Coach Cullen back out of retirement to come out and help us is tremendous. I've known Coach for 20, 30 years. And he's obviously a legend in the Mahoning Valley. And you put 600 wins on the bench beside you, that's a plus for any coach. So, I've had my fair share of games. And when you put us there, and then you've got Brian Deadmead, who's an ex-Springfield player. He was one of my coaches, was an assistant when I played, and was also on Coach Del Torio's staff when I helped with Coach Del Torio's program. So bringing him back, there's a familiarity there. And then I added Joey Clark. Joey was actually a ball boy for me here at Springfield when Brian Clark helped me out here at Hudson for a year. And having Joe, who recently played at Hiram, he graduated from Sebring, he's going to be working with our freshmen. And then down at our junior high level, having Coach Del Torio is back. He's retired, lives in the community, so he's helping us out at the junior high level. And Shane Einen, former player, you were talking about the alumni. We got alumni like Shane and RJ Smith is one of the girls' junior high coaches, having those guys around to help us in practice. And people like Nate LeBoy has been helping us out. It's just great to have alumni and people in the community that just, really buy into our program.
Coach, before we let you go, every new coach wants to establish kind of a culture, a philosophy, and something that they want to implement into the program. What kind of things do you want your kids and your players to take from you after they graduate from the Springfield basketball program and they say, I learned this because I was playing for Jeff Brink and Springfield?
I think the number one thing, and I talked about this last night actually, people want numbers on a banner, they want a plastic trophy, but the bottom line, 30 years, what you're going to remember are relationships. It's about the people that you meet, it's about the relationships you build. And I think one of the most special things for me every year, Christmas morning, I spend hours texting players back that have texted me, email about, hey, coach, just wanted to say, Merry Christmas or Happy Holidays. And you just wanted to touch base and say, hello, we're thinking about you. And to have that personal touch to where people care enough to reach out on their holiday, I try to text and write everybody back individually. On the night I was hired back as a Springfield coach, I was up till 2:33 a.m. returning text messages, emails, phone calls from former players and alumni who just were reaching out to say, Coach, we're so excited you're coming home. We can't wait to be there. And for me personally, I think that's the number one thing I want to try to sell our players, that the time is fleeting. Your time is fleeting. It's going to be gone. You need to value the moments that you have together. It's special. It's precious. Take advantage of the time you have today. Every moment is vital that you have to share together. And if you can build those relationships, you make the journey special. And we always look at the outcome of the journey. You know, did you get the trophy? Did you get the banner? Did you get the numeral? But the bottom line when it's all said and done is, what did you build on that journey? What kind of relationships did you build on that journey? What made the journey special? And what makes the journey special are the people that you have along the way and the relationships you build with each other. So I guess to make a long story short, if I was selling one thing, you know, we talk about the tradition in our town. We talk about what it means to the people in Springfield. But the bottom line for us as players is you got to really buy into each other and love each other. That family thing, we talk about it a lot. It's something that the football team's really been, you know, adamant about. It's your family. And I've always viewed that way. I don't have kids of my own, but I have so many kids that I feel are my family because of the time I've spent with them through basketball and the relationships we built. That makes my life special. And it's something that to have those relationships 30, 40 years later, that's just a great thing. It's an awesome feeling.
Coach, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today and giving us a little bit of a preview of your team and what they'll look like this season. We look forward to covering you all year. We wish you the best of success, and we'll look forward to talking again real soon.
Thanks, gentlemen. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you, Coach.
Thank you.
Coach Brink, the head coach of the boys basketball team down in Springfield, returning home. And we couldn't thank him enough for his time. We also want to thank the coaches that gave us their time after the games last night that we were able to put post-game interviews up. You want to thank, Coach Canarino, Coach Hall from Wyndham, Coach
Hill. I'm sorry.
Hill.
Yep.
And Coach Boobin from Howland giving us their time for post-game interviews. We appreciate it. We love getting their faces on Running Point, and we look forward to more coverage as the season goes on with all those guys. That'll do it for us here. We're going to take a 22-hour break. We'll be back tomorrow from 12 to 2. Power Hour and Casual Sports both coming up next. Casual Sports from 2 to 3. Power Hour from 3 to 4. And then 3 games on the network tonight. Go to ysnlive.com/live to see what games are on and where to watch them.